This week on the Media Boss Podcast.
This is my first book. I have a bunch. During the pandemic, most people would say that they watched Netflix, and that's great. If you did that, I wrote a bunch of books. This is the first one. This one is sort of.
Media Boss Podcast is brought to you by two of our new partners. One is Pantheon. I can't wait to tell you about them later. And brought to you by Convert and Flow. You're going to learn so much about them. But now it's time for the Media Boss Podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Media Boss Podcast. I am Dr. Barrett Matthews, and I'm going to tell you again. You know what I'm going to tell you. I've got a great show and a great guest. Man, you're going to love him. Because I'm having a ball already. We haven't even started yet. But I got to ask you a question, guys. Are you really clear? Are you clear? Is your mind clear? Are you ready for this? Because my guest, if you're not clear, he's going to help you get clear. I mean, he's an author. He's got a great book, and I know you guys are going to love it. He's also a mentor. He can help you to get your mind clear. And he's also a very charitable person. He loves to give. He loves to help other people. So I want to bring to the Media Boss Podcast none other than Mr. David Chametzky. David, welcome to the Media Boss Podcast.
Hey, thanks so much for inviting me on. I appreciate it so much.
Man, I'm excited to have you here. I'm really excited because we were just talking beforehand. If you don't know it, he's from New York. I spent a little time in New York. I'm an East Coast guy myself. I'm from the DC area, so we like going up and down 95 with those guys. When we get a little further out, we don't really relate to them that much. It's just the truth.
I've been up and down 95 the past couple of months. I was up for the book, my book launch up in Rhode Island, and then 2 weeks later than that, I was in DC, which I love DC.
Yes, I love New York.
Yeah.
I love New York. So it's the thing. I have the same thing I dealt with in college. We had the New York and DC people. We had our little rivalries, but we ended up all getting along because it was just
we all think alike. I mean,
exactly.
I when I go down to Philadelphia, it's Southern Brooklyn is what I say. It's for the, we are all the same mentality. It's the East Coast mentality, and I love it. We get things done. We bring it with an attitude. We're passionate. What's wrong with that?
And if you know, you know. That's the thing. So I want to talk about your book because, like I said, this is the Media Boss Podcast. That is a great form of media here. So hold up your book for them. Let them see your book and tell them about it if you can.
Yeah, so this is my first book. I have a bunch. During the pandemic, most people would say that they watched Netflix, and that's great. If you did that, I wrote a bunch of books. This is the first one. This one this one means a lot to me. Not only because it's my first book, but it's also a little piece of my heart. So you want to get to know me, you get to see that because there's some stories, a personal story and inspirational and jottings. And you can find inspiration in what you have experienced. We've all experienced. We start off, like one of my first stories is about a first love. We all had that first love. And I'm not trying to say, what I want everybody to hear about my story.
Yeah.
I want you to feel yourself in there.
Yes.
And then I have a pathfinder perspective. My mentoring program is called On the Path.
Okay.
And PATH stands for Personal Attitudes Towards Happiness.
I love that.
And
that's cool.
So while we're on our journey, our path, we what happens? We have our heartbeat. That first heartbeat starts our journey, either as an entrepreneur, as a media, as a podcast host. Got to start somewhere.
Got to start somewhere,
and then
man.
we find that the next part of that book is really about the journey of life. Sometimes we get off the right path. Sometimes we don't know where our right path is, and we need a pathfinder to help us find it or assist us. And that's really what it comes down to. And then what happens? Once we get that right path, sort of like yourself, you get that speed, you gain that speed, and then you want to soar.
Yeah.
That's why when it's your time to soar,
I love it.
When your heart says it's your time to soar, I can't tell you when it's your time to soar, but I can tell you that you can find inspiration really in this. And I've used my own photography in the book. Yeah, so each one of those pictures are mine. So it's really, that's why,
cool.
That's why I say this book really has a part of my heart. When I looked at it, and I look at it often, it makes me feel good. So I don't really care when I put it out there about the reviews, but I had one of my bosses call me up, an old boss but retired. And she was like, Dave, this was amazing. She goes, and to get her to be speechless.
Right.
Said something. And she goes, this was great. She goes, I'm going to make sure that we buy more copies. She wants to give them out.
That's wonderful.
And because she does some charity work, I said, I'll also work out ways that we can make it impactful for the charity, because that's really something that's really important for me.
Look, I'm speechless right now. That was good. That was really good. 'Cause, I mean, the thing is I always tell people, I've heard this from the late great Miles Monroe, that everybody has a story in them. Everybody has a book in them, at least one, at least one book. And the fact that one of the things I like about what you said there is that the photos in there that you took, because photography is another form of media, and he put that in the book. So other than the words, we're getting more of you. And I think that's important, especially like the way you describe your book. First of all, it's perfect. No, I'm serious, because like you said, you want people to see themselves in there. Another thing that you said I thought was real poignant was the fact that you said that I can't tell you when it's your time to soar.
Right.
And the reason why that's so important to me, David, is that a lot of people who call themselves helping people, they want to tell you when you're supposed to do something. It's kind of like, I would say this when people are mourning, and I say, I can't tell you when to stop mourning. It's your own personal experience. So I can't tell you when. And I know people tell, oh, you should be done now. I can't tell you that.
And that's a great reference. You never know what you're going to do. And in fact, the last chapter, the last piece of writing was with my own mom. My mom transitioned at the end of last year.
Sorry.
Thank you. But it was a blessing. It was one of those things that she was done. She was done before she passed. And but what I did is I put it together again, putting a piece of my heart. There's a picture of it that I just took on my phone, so it's not. And we could do that. We have media all over.
Yeah.
So I took a phone of just me holding her hand or her holding my hand, however you want to look at it. But it was the heart that the last time I was with her.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so I was blessed to have that, and that's, like I said, almost every page in this book has a little piece of my heart in there.
That is so wonderful. And so you said you've written other books.
I've not finished.
You haven't finished them. Okay.
Much like the rest of us,
But that's fine.
We all have it, and that's why,
dude, I'm working on 2 more as we speak. So
yeah,
I get it.
So that's my next goal. Actually, I have a book that's going to be coming out in towards the end of March. I'm hoping I can push it up a little bit more. About sort of, it's tied to my podcast, Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat. And everybody laughs about that because it's a New York accent, right? He's a tough guy. I'm not a tough guy. I am never going to be claimed a tough guy. I've been in a lot of fights in life, and I probably lost most of them. But I know how to get up. And that's the really important part about knowing resilience and being that phoenix within ourselves. So the podcast, I'm going to talk about using baseball references, turning the corner, how we can, make that double play in our lives. How we can sit behind the plate and see the vision of everything else.
I'm so glad you said that, because when you said bring a bat, I was thinking something different in baseball.
Yeah. Well, because I always say, and that's what the podcast is. I want everybody to find their sweet spot in life. And, you swung a bat at some point in your life.
Yeah.
And when you hit that ball right, it still might have gone to the shortstop. It might be an atom ball where it hit right at somebody, but you couldn't have done any better.
Right.
You wish better results. So even as an entrepreneur, as a media host, you might have a guest that you're like, oh my God, if you did the best interview you can, that's all that matters. Whatever happens with it goes.
Yeah. I want to, because I want to talk about your podcast, but what I ask you, what prompted you to write a book?
I always wanted to write a book.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I never thought, because I had limiting beliefs,
Okay.
I never thought I could do it. So
there you go.
I have to say, when I saw the book and I was putting this all together, and then the first time I touched it, down the back, chills.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, because it's my name. I've been in other books. I've co-authored.
I know that feeling.
But holding the book with your name on it, that you put your heart into it, man, that was something. So, it's one of those things when you set a goal, you know what your goal wants to be and how to get to it. Sometimes you need those mentors to just get you through there.
So now let's talk about the podcast, another form of media. So speaking of, why did you start the book? Why did you start the podcast?
Okay, so the podcast is, I'm a speaker, so but especially during the pandemic, we weren't able to get on a bunch of stages. There weren't a lot of opportunities. And I want people to hear my voice. I did a TEDx. So right before the pandemic, I did a TEDx, and I thought my performance, truthfully, could have been a little bit better.
Okay.
But it's not about performance. The message. The message hit a home run. I got contacted by 9 people who were in it. It's about mental health. It's about that there's a phoenix within each one of us. And, how we rise from ours and have resilience.
Yeah.
But 9 people had reached out to me. So to me, that was a home run. It was. But how do I then take what I felt was not the optimal performance, but the message was, and do something with it? Well, I'd like to have a podcast. I think that would be really cool. As everybody else in the world, we were stuck, and I was like, all right, this is going to be something good.
Yeah.
So what's the name? And I'm very holistic,
Yeah.
very spiritual.
Mhm.
So I really like to have an opportunity to bring on people. I
Mhm.
think, and I mentioned it earlier today, is, we put people on pedestals, all those, the big speakers. I think we need to hear more people from like you and me
Yeah.
than we do the pedestal people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because it's the average person I've been through it. I can walk you through it. I'm a mentor. I've done this.
Mhm.
As you said, I was
Yeah.
a great explanation. And that's why I did the podcast. And
I love
I
that.
brought on some amazing stories. I've spoken to a woman whose family was murdered in a Rwanda genocide.
Really?
And she's got through it. And she is one of the most happiest people in the world. You never know what stories you're going to get.
Oh my goodness. We're going to talk further.
You got that.
No, I
She's
have
spoken to you when she's
one
amazing.
of my best friends. He is a film producer. He did a movie called Ken Rwanda. It's about the Rwanda genocide told by Africans, not Hollywood. And it actually won at the Sundance Film Festival.
Oh, wow.
Back in 2011. But tell you, I'll have to connect you guys or something because that's amazing. This is not a coincidence that we're here talking.
It's all him, man.
It's all him.
Yeah.
It's all him. And I give him all the glory for it. And it's amazing. So your podcast, tell them the name of your podcast again.
Peace, love, and bring a bat.
Okay. Now, your podcast.
Let me just explain. So
please.
bring a bat is about bringing authentic thoughts. So it's not even just about bringing a bat. I want to make sure everybody understands.
Yeah.
It's being,
Please.
make sure that we bring out our awesome self. And
Right.
that's what it is, being awesome today. And I'm willing to play around with that name because one of the things
I
I
like
talk
that.
about is we have ability to use words, and words are so powerful.
Yeah, truly.
And we'll go back to your words of question.
Well, no, you answered it. That was going to be
okay.
my question. I was going to ask you to go into it. So that was perfect. But I do want to ask you on that in peace, love, and bring it back. First of all, how long ago did you start it?
It's almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
So February, I guess 2021. 2021. We're over 100 episodes.
Good job, man.
Most of the episodes are guests, but every now and then we have an Uncle Dave perspective episode.
that.
And the first 8 episodes are just me telling you who I am and why I would like you to spend some time with me so that way you know. So we'll be talking about mental health, and we'll talk about some inspiration, and how I explain the podcast. It's part inspiration, part motivation, and part perspiration because I do bring on coaches, and if we don't, because we don't do the work. So you and I could talk about all the changes we want to do in the world, but if it only stays in this room, it only stays on YouTube or wherever this is, that's not going to work. We need to move it forward.
I can tell you have fun with your podcast.
I do.
I can tell. I mean, I can just feel the energy when you talk about it. You have fun with your podcast. And I always tell people, if it becomes work, stop it.
Yeah.
Because your podcast should be something you enjoy doing. And I can tell that, I can feel that from you. Now, when you're doing your podcast, because this is also, we have people out there who are watching, who are listening, who may want to start a podcast, but may have some apprehension. What kind of challenges did you run into when you first started?
Oh, everything. You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
I mean, I started out and you asked some questions, and that's why I'm putting together a program just on how to start a podcast. But the things that you don't know, equipment. You read what's the number one, and you don't always need number one.
Right.
You don't need the number. You don't need all the lighting, depending on what you want. What's your goal? What's the title? And why do you want to do it? Are you doing it for you? If you're doing it for you, I would say, because I've learned from my mistakes, that's the wrong way to do it. What are you doing? Are you doing it to like this podcast is about communicating and finding people to, share the messages.
Yes.
If you're looking to try to share messages, then you could gotta move forward. What's the name? And you want to put out a name that's going to be proud of you, not just because, a lot of people use the word millionaire. At the end of the day, if we're all millionaires, let's say God gave us all millionaires, then what's going to still make you different? Then why should I spend time with you?
That's powerful. That's a powerful thing. So in that, and another thing I want to add, because you brought up millionaire, don't do your podcast just to make money.
That's why I've always said I would do my podcast, especially the messages that I've got and the feedback that I've received. I would do it for free for the rest of my life.
That's good. That's really good. Because I tell people all the time, I said, look, do you understand that most people don't make money with their podcast?
Most people don't last. So like I look statistically, most people don't last past 14 episodes because
many?
Yeah. Well, if you can get there.
Yeah.
So that's why when I got to my 15th episode, I was like, all right, I'm in a different category.
Right.
And once I hit 100, I originally thought about having this big celebration.
That's a big milestone, man.
Yeah.
That's
But,
a big milestone.
But I was like, I'm going to be Barry Sanders. And if you remember back, and I know
I know,
right? Barry Sanders used to get a touchdown he would have been the greatest running back ever if he didn't walk away.
Yeah.
But he walked over to the ref after every time. There was no spiking. There was no dancing. Yep. He just walked in like he's been there before.
Yep, that's
the really important
Act
part.
like you've been there before.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good. I like that analogy because I'm a big sports person. And, it's another East Coast thing. but no, the thing is, you're doing that in media. You're actually showing people the book and books to come, and your podcast. And I gotta say this is good because I'm trying to get people to understand that it's multiple streams of media, because I can guarantee you the people that are coming to you from your book may not be the same people that come to you from your podcast.
Correct.
And this is why it's important for you guys to really expand your media like Dave is doing, because if you don't, let me give you an example. If Dave had just done his podcast and he had never done a book, that means he's missing a group of people that would want to be working with him to read. So you have to understand that there are people out there that want to do business with you, but they don't know you because you're not meeting them where they are. Dave is making sure he's meeting the people where they are.
I love exactly what you said, because that's exactly what I talk about when I work on clarity. Especially in the relationship end of it. And people go, well, why doesn't he or why doesn't she think this way?
Yeah.
And you have to meet people where they're at.
Yeah.
You learn that. And until you learn that, life changes,
Yeah. Because a lot of us, I like to call it, we do ego-based marketing.
Yeah.
We market in whatever way that makes us comfortable. And that's not always what's needed.
Right.
And so that's why, you being a man of faith, you can really understand that it's not always about you.
I'm learning more and more. It's never about me. And truthfully, so with the book, that was one of the big challenges. The book, so I had the opportunity, it was on the billboard in Times Square.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty ego, right? and as I see it up there, I'm like, this is just the book. This doesn't mean, look at all the people around Times Square, which was proud of
by,
who didn't even notice it.
Yeah.
And I go, okay, that's
a great way of looking at it.
But years ago, I would have been like, the only thing I did that took me a little bit, as it was rotating through, the Patrick Mahomes of sunglasses was right next to it. But I took a picture of that quickly and I tagged him. I haven't heard back from Patrick, but I am sure I'm going to
next week.
Yeah. Well, I think he's busy right now.
Kind of.
Yeah. Well, what I'm going to do, because I remember his dad pitching it for the Mets.
Yeah.
So I'm going to send them a book, because that was how I tagged him.
Cool.
I was like, Patrick, we're together.
We made it.
Yeah. But I will send them a picture of it.
I love it. Dave, before we wrap up, man, I want to give you a chance to let our audience know anything they can support you in doing, my man.
Yeah, so I do a lot of charity work. So, I'm building this organization called Goons for Good. We all know somebody, and I know a guy. But, so just whatever you do something good. If you want to reach out to me, reach out. I'd love to hear people all over the country, all over the world for their charity, and then we'll make sure that you're a goon for good.
All right. Dave Chametzky, thank you so much for joining me here on the Media Boss Podcast, my man.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. We'll be right back with more.
Hey, everybody. The Media Boss Podcast has been brought to you by our partners, Pantheon and Convert and Flow. Make sure you get with us so you can find out more about how you can help your business run smoothly with Pantheon and Convert and Flow.